Hello everyone, welcome to DHS Informatics. In this session, I am going to cover JDBC, Servlet and JSP. JDBC stands for Java Database Connectivity, which is a standard Java API for database independent connectivity between the Java programming language and databases. 5 steps to connect Java application with a database using JDBC. First step is to register the driver or load the driver. Second step is to create a connection. Third step is to create a SQL statement. Fourth step is to execute SQL statement. And the last step is to close the connection. Driver class. The driver class for the MySQL database is com.mysql.jdbc.driver. Connection URL. The connection URL for the MySQL database is jdbc:/localhost:3306/dblogin. dblogin is a database. You can use any other database name also here. JDBC is the API, MySQL is a database, and localhost is a server name on which MySQL is running. 3306 is a port number, and dblogin is a database name. Next we have username. The default username for the MySQL database is root, and password. It is the password given by the user at the time of installing the MySQL database. First step is to load the driver. Class.forName method, we are passing driver, that is com.mysql.jdbc.driver. Second step is to create the connection. So we should pass URL, username and password. So URL is nothing but jdbc:/mysql localhost:3306 and your database information. That URL you should pass here. And username, by default it will be root, and the password is whatever the password you are going to give while installing the software, that password you should pass here. Create statement. So after the connection established, you should create a statement. Next we have execute the query. So query means nothing but whenever you are going to create a database, you are going to create a table inside it. So once it is using get connection method, you are going to connect to a database, and after that what are the tables you are going to create. If you want to fetch a data or insert a data to that particular table, you can use that table information and you can fetch or execute a query. So a query is like, if I want to fetch all the information from that particular table, that time I can use select star from that table name. And next we have close the connection. The final step will be closing the connection. Next we have Servlet. Servlet technology is used to create a dynamic web application. Servlet can be described in many ways depending on the context, and it is a technology which is used to create a web application. Servlet is an API that provides many interfaces and classes including documentation. It is a class that extends the capabilities of the server and responds to the incoming request. Servlet is a web component that is deployed on the server to create a dynamic web page. So for example, here client is requesting to the server, and the server is going to process it and sends the response back to the client. Types of website: static and dynamic. For static web pages, data do not change until someone changes it manually, and hence data is static in nature. Dynamic web page, data is first interoperate at server side, and due to which it does not remain same on every call or request, and this makes data dynamic in nature. Difference between dynamic and static. Websites are separated into two different types, that is static and dynamic. Static websites are ones that are fixed and display the same content for every user, and it is usually written exclusively in HTML. A dynamic website, on the other hand, is one that can display different content and provide user interaction by making use of advanced programming and databases in addition to HTML. Steps to create a servlet. So we can create a servlet by three ways. One is by implementing servlet interface, by inheriting JenericServlet class, by inheriting HttpServlet class. The mostly used approach is by extending or inheriting HttpServlet class, because it provides HTTP request specific methods such as doGet, doPost, doHead, etc. Here we are going to use Apache Tomcat server in this example. The steps are as follows. Create a directory structure, create a servlet, compile the servlet, create a deployment descriptor, that is web.xml file, start the server and deploy the project, access the servlet. So this is a project structure. Here we have a web.inf folder, we'll be writing class files, and web.xml, that is deployment descriptor file, and library folder, and HTML files as well as static resources, example image, CSS, etc. Web.xml. So web.xml is also called as controller and deployment descriptor class, the deployment descriptor file. So here in the web.xml, consider you have one registration, login, and for example, consider admin and user both have a login page. So once I click on admin login, it should check the information in the admin table, and if I click on user login, it should check information in the user table. So to redirect or to map a request to the particular class, we need web.xml file. For example, here we are using admin login. So I am sending the URL pattern as a login. So that login will be mapped with com.admin.login, that is login class. Like this, whatever the request we are getting, we can just redirect to the particular class in the using the web.xml, that is deployment descriptor file. Servlet collaboration. Request dispatcher. The request dispatcher interface provides the facility of dispatching the request to another resource. It may be HTML, servlet, or JSP. There are two methods defined in the request dispatcher interface, that are forward as well as include. The first one is forward and include. Forward method. Forward method will close the output string after it has been invoked, whereas include method leaves the output stream open. The include method takes the content from another resource and includes it in the servlet. The forward method sends the request to another resources. So here is an example. You have a login page. Once you click on login, it will go to validate servlet. So there, if it is a valid, then it will be forwarded to next welcome page. If it is not valid, then it will go to the same page including sorry username or password error. That error information it will include and it will go to the same page. JSP. JSP is Java Server Pages. JSP technology is used to create a web application just like servlet technology. It can be thought of as an extension to servlet because it provides more functionality than servlet. A JSP consists of HTML tags and JSP tags. The JSP pages are easier to maintain than servlet because we can separate designing and development. Here is a directory structure of JSP. So the same how we used in servlet, it is the same only. The difference is here we are using JSP instead of HTML. We have a JSP lifecycle. So JSP, first JSP page will be we have a JSP translator that will be translated to .java files, and after that it will be compiled, .class files will be generated, and the dynamic content will be sent back to the client. JSP scripting elements. We have scriptlet tag, expression tag, and declaration tag. So we can use in the JSP, we can use HTML tags also and also JSP tags also. Inside the JSP tags, what we can do? We can write Java codes. So here we have a scriptlet tag. So inside the scriptlet tag, we can write a Java source code. Here is a syntax for it. So for example, you can see HTML body tag, and after that we used a scriptlet tag, inside which we are going to write some information like out.println welcome to JSP. Like this we can write our Java source code. Next we have declaration tag. The JSP declaration tag is used to declare a field and methods. So syntax is here. So we can use field or method declaration inside the declaration tag. Example, int data is equal to 50. Here we are going to declare a data as a 50. So that declaration we are including in the declaration tag. Next we have expression tag. Expression tag is used to substitute the value. So for example, here we have int data is equal to 50. This is a declaration tag. Inside the declaration tag we are going to declare it, and if I want to substitute, I am going to use expression tag and I am going to substitute that value inside the I'll use that variable inside the expression tag so that it will substitute that value. We have a MVC architecture now. MVC means Model View Controller Architecture. Model View Controller, or MVC as it is popularly called, is a software design pattern for developing web applications. A Model View Controller pattern is made up of the following three parts, that is Model, View and Controller. Model is responsible for maintaining data. View is responsible for displaying all or portion of the data to the user. Controller. Controller is a software code that controls the interaction between the model and view. Model View Controller is popular as it isolates the application logic from the user interface layer and supports separation of concerns. Here the controller receives all the requests for the application and then work with the model to prepare any data needed by the view. The view then uses the data prepared by the controller to generate a final presentable responses. I hope you enjoyed this session. Thank you.